and welcome to another episode of Classic Conversations. I'm Chris Inman with Classic Strategic Media. Today I'm joined by Mike Schaler of Akron Drone Services. Thanks for joining me, Mike.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Why don't you tell us a little about Akron Drone Services?
Akron Drone Services is a company that I started about 3 years ago. And I decided that I needed another tool in the toolbox, if you will, for getting video and pictures and so forth. And I thought, the drones would be a good tool to have to supplement the other work that I do.
Interesting. So what really got you interested in flying a drone professionally? I know I'm a videographer and I am terrified to fly a drone.
I guess the idea was I wanted to make sure I do it the right way. And after I initially got a drone, I found out that you need to have an FAA certification. We normally use the word license. It's not exactly accurate, but certification to fly legally if you're going to do any kind of commercial work. So that's what I set about to do, was to find out how to get the license, did some online training, and took the FAA test. Part 107 is what it's called. And passed the test, got the licensing, and so then I was able to legally fly.
What does it take to pass the FFA?
There's a pretty extensive curriculum. I like to say, and I think it's pretty accurate, that it's about half of what it takes to get a regular pilot's license. So you have to know a lot of different things. You have to know rules and regulations. You have to know about weather. You have to know about different kinds of airspace. Where you have to know if you can legally fly where a client wants you to fly. So you study for the test. You go pay $150 to take the test, and hopefully you're successful the first time. And then you're legal to fly. So then you've got also developed the skills to be able to fly safely and to get the kind of shots that you need. And there's also other requirements as well. So if you're going to fly, you need to have insurance, regular liability insurance. So typically a production company would have liability insurance. So if a light in the studio we're at, if it fell on somebody's head, you'd be covered. When you're flying a drone or a small unmanned aircraft, you have to have insurance for an aircraft, because the FAA considers a drone an aircraft just like an airplane. So you have to have separate insurance for that to make sure you're covered.
Excellent. You mentioned where you're allowed to fly. So a lot of people don't realize you can't just fly it anywhere.
Right. So people just go to Best Buy, buy a drone for their kids or whatever, and go out in the backyard or in the neighborhood, or go to a national park or something. Here we're by the Cuyahoga Valley National Recreation Area. You're not allowed to fly in a national park. You can actually, it's accurately to say you could fly in a park, but you can't land and take off. So that makes it a little bit more difficult.
That's interesting. Because you have to stay within, you have to see your drone at all times too,
right?
Correct? That's another law that a lot of people don't understand.
Right. It's called line of sight. You cannot fly your drone beyond visual line of sight. So I have to be able to make eye contact. I have to see it. So I can't fly a mile away from where I am physically located, because I can't see that far away. So that's one of the things.
That brings up a weird side note. It was talking about the new Amazon law. They just got passed to fly drones.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to fly them all over the place without line of sight? It's going to be interesting.
You can get a waiver to fly beyond line of sight. And there have been a few people that have gotten it. There's a railroad that does a lot of inspections of their tracks. Some power companies have got it to fly to inspect their power lines.
You just have to have special...
Right. You have to have a waiver from the FAA.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting. So what really is the difference between being a hobbyist and you doing it for a living or doing it for commercial?
Right. A hobbyist is somebody that strictly flies just for fun. So if all I want to do is just take the drone out and fly around, just take a few pictures in my house, or just for the heck of it, sort of like the old model airplane, those clubs have been around for a long time. Those are hobbyists. Now they sort of self-police, or have their own set of rules and their own areas that they fly in. As a commercial operator, a commercial use of a drone is defined as anything that a drone is used for in the furtherance of a business. So notice I didn't say that I'm receiving compensation. I don't have to receive a cup of coffee for a picture that I took for a realtor. That anything that's done in the furtherance of a business, not necessarily the exchange of money. So the realtor example, a realtor can't just have, a friend of theirs that has a drone come out and take a picture of a house for them and put it on their listing. Now, a lot of them do it, and they probably don't get caught or busted for it, but it's strictly speaking, it's not legal.
So if you're a hobbyist, do you have to go through the FFA regulations and all that? Or how does those intertwine?
Well, all drones have to be registered. So there's a portal that the FAA has that you can register your drone. Whether you're a hobbyist or a commercial pilot, you still have to register your drone.
You have to register your drone. Do you have to have the license to
Not
fly
as
as a hobbyist?
No, you don't. No.
So anybody can just buy one and do it recreationally.
Right.
For themselves.
Yeah. So the FAA just came out with some new regulations, actually back in the end of 2018, and they've just started sort of rolling those out and making everybody aware of those. So the hobbyist used to be able to just fly almost anywhere, and all they had to do was call the tower or the airport and say, "Hey, I'm a hobbyist. I'm just going to fly over here." And the tower pretty much had to say, "Okay, just be careful." Now they have to also work within the airspace restrictions that I do as a commercial operator. And so when I get a call from a client that says, "Hey, I need some pictures of this business," and I say, "All right, well, where is it? I need to find that out first." Then I go to I usually use a website, SkyVector is the company that I use, and they will show you. It's a very complex looking chart, has a lot of circles and colors and a lot of text on it. And I can decide if I can legally fly there or if I have to get an authorization from the FAA to fly there.
Interesting. So what are some areas you mentioned, state parks you can't fly near? What are some
national parks?
National parks, I'm sorry.
State parks, probably. A lot of them have rules and regulations. But it's important to know that the FAA governs all airspace. So the FAA determines, whether or not you can fly there or not. So just because you don't want me flying over your house doesn't mean that I can't fly there. So people think there's a lot of privacy issues, and there are. But generally speaking, if I'm flying my drone at 200 feet above your house, I'm not going to see much. If I'm flying right outside your bedroom window trying to peek in, then we got issues. But generally speaking, there's nothing to really be concerned about. And a lot of times, I belong to several different organizations, and we talk about different privacy issues. And a lot of times, if somebody comes up and they're worried about, you're looking inside my house, you just show them what you're shooting, and then usually their fears can be calmed.
Interesting. Could you fly over a business and get footage of their business and all that? If somebody runs a factory and a competitors want to spy on them, is that?
Well, there's a couple of things to think about. One, there's always Google Earth that somebody could use to look at their factory. Anything that you can see from a public space is fair game.
It's fair game. Okay.
And the other thing that people don't think about is your cell phone has far more privacy issues than a drone. I don't know if I can say ever will, but certainly at the moment.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I do some marketing that we can do is we can take your cell phone and let's say you're in a big box store and I run the competitor's big box store. I can deliver ads to you saying, "Hey, come over to my big box store. I know you're here." You can deliver ads right to your phone. I mean, the cell phones, the tracking in the cell phones is so much more invasive than anything that'll ever probably be done with a drone.
Well, let's create a scenario here. Let's say I'm a real estate agent and I have a home I would like you to get some aerial shots of because I have a pond in the backyard. And what is it? How do I go about scheduling that with you? And what are the things that we need to do together to make that happen?
Well, so the first thing I would want to know is when you call me, I'd like to find out where it is. And so that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look it up and see, can I shoot there without any issues? And then if I do need to get an airspace authorization or a waiver, then I will try to do that. So second thing I'd want to know is video or pictures. Obviously, pictures are going to be less expensive because it takes less work, less flying time. And then I would want to know, are there any special things about the house or the business that that you want to have the pictures of or the video. And then I try to price it out, give you a fair price, and then find out how do you want the end product delivered.
Awesome. All right, interesting. So let's say there's one of our viewers or listeners that's interested in learning more about drones, and maybe just as a hobbyist and such. Where would they find more information?
Well, I actually sit on the board of directors of an organization, NORCOTA, North Coast Drone Alliance. We have monthly meetings where we invite the public in free of charge to come to these meetings. In fact, I just gave a presentation with one of my co-board members this past month on aerial photography and video. So we started from basics like camera settings, aperture, ISO, shutter speed, and stuff like that. And we covered sort of video and video and still pictures as well. We had another one about agricultural use of drones. So if somebody was interested in that, we've got drone racing coming up. We've got we're going to do some classes for people that want to get their Part 107 FAA certification or license. We're also we also have on our plans to do some for first responders, police, fire, and so forth. So it's a great organization that provides networking opportunities. You get a chance to meet other drone service providers or other hobbyists that are interested. So, you kind of sit at your computer and you're sort of off on an island not knowing where to go. This is a great resource. Plenty of nice people. And we meet up behind the Cleveland airport once a month. And
do you guys have a website?
Right, norcoda.org, norcoda.org is the
Interesting. All right, yeah. So if you're interested in learning more, check out that website. Let's just get some ideas of what people could use a drone footage for. We talk about real estate, corporation, maybe get some beauty shots of their exterior. What are some other projects you've worked on or you know of?
Well, car dealers are using drones extensively now. In fact, I think in the last week or two, I've seen a few car commercials that were nothing but drone shots, and I've done a few of those. I actually worked on a political spot a couple years ago for a candidate that was running for office. Really anything you can think of, people are using drones for, just to get some different angles, some perspectives that they really could only get with helicopters in the past.
Interesting. Well, how does someone get a hold of you if they would like to learn more information about your company?
I have a website, akrondroneservices.com. And there's a contact form there. My email address is mike@akrondroneservices.com. So that you could give me a call, 330-715-0897 is directly to my cell phone. And I'd be happy to talk to you about it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
All right, thanks,
and
Chris.
Thank you for watching and listening here on our podcast. And I hope that you can join us for our next one. Have a great day.